So there's a video going around of the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh proclaiming that he knows when pop culture died. And well, I think it is up to me to correct some statements in what I'm calling a civil response.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you know I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
I want to talk about a theory that has been bouncing around in my head.
And already, Matt, I have to stop you right there. See, a theory has been tested. What you have is called a hypothesis, but they don't let me host a show for Ben Shapiro, so what do I know?
The theory is that pop culture peaked at a specific and identifiable point in our very recent past. The peak happened during the years 2007 and 2008. 2007 saw the release of two of the greatest films ever made, There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men, which...
No Country for Old Men sucks. It's cinema of manipulation. It's the Emperor's New Clothes. Tommy Lee Jones's character has no bearing on the story. The movie's largely a ripoff of The Terminator, as well as the Coen brothers yet again redoing Blood Simple. I've gone through this extensively on the channel before.
You can make an argument for expanding the peak to include 2006, a 3-year period then, covering 06 through 08.
Okay, so we're redefining the goalposts, expanding from 2006 to 2008.
Now, if you were to make a list of the 10 greatest TV shows ever made, 5 of those shows that you would likely put on your list were on the air during this time. The Wire, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Mad Men.
Then Matt talks about TV. I think the better admission is that we don't have TV shows anymore. We have streaming series. In fact, the network executives are too stupid to belittle streaming, adopting their retronym of linear television, rather than using web series in retaliation against the streamers.
2 other things premiered in the 07-08 period that might help explain the problem.
So, what happened? Well, he pins it on Obama's election and the iPhone.
With the election of our first truly far-left president, we entered the era of what we would come to call wokeness. All forms of risky, interesting, provocative artistic expression began to die off as a result, starting with comedy. It is startling to look at a list of the greatest films and TV shows of this century and see how many of them were packed in and produced from the year 2000 right up until the release of the iPhone, and how quickly everything drops off almost from that moment precisely, or within a year or so of it.
Because though he looks 50, Matt Walsh is quite a bit younger than me, and he's unaware that it took people a while to adopt the iPhone, originally only available through AT&T at a plan that would make you have to be a doctor.
The iPhone came out, social media proliferated alongside it. 2007, only about 23% of American adults had ever used social media. Twitter had only just been launched. TikTok didn't exist. Today, of course, basically everyone uses social media, basically every waking moment of the day.
We've had the internet for a while, but it took putting our lives on the internet to make the internet important to everyone.
Music, which, of course, is an essential part of the culture I haven't mentioned yet, and which doesn't really graft onto this timeline exactly the same. It peaked a little bit earlier than movies and television.
Matt points out that rock bands no longer exist, something I have pointed out years ago, saying that country had a hostile takeover of the rock genre. But indeed, our popular music now has no instruments being played.
There's something poetic in the fact that Michael Jackson, the last celebrity of the monoculture, the last true global star, died in 2009.
Was Michael Jackson the last global star? Man, I almost want to give Tom Cruise that distinction.
The monoculture began its march to extinction in 2007. Today, the march is over. There is no shared culture. The monoculture gave way to the fragmented culture, a culture broken and divided into 300 million little pieces. We all watched the same movies, same TV shows, and even if we didn't watch them, we knew about the popular ones that other people were watching.
I mean, he's not calling 2007 the peak of pop culture, but the last peak. Well, maybe Michael Jackson was the peak, just not the last peak.
Because we all had the same stars. We all had the same celebrities. Now today, if your 14-year-old son has a phone, he also has his own personal list of stars and celebrities that he looks up to and follows obsessively. And these are people that you've never heard of. You don't know who they are. You don't even know what they do. And there isn't one place for you to go and find out who these people are. Now you can have 5 million fans and be totally obscure to every other person on the planet. Today we still have hit songs that lots of people stream, and we have hit movies that lots of people watch. But very rarely does any show or film or song become a cultural touchstone.
Well, I think Matt has a very limited scope on what he considers pop culture. Video games go unmentioned. Cars, never brought up. Sports, what's that?
In 1997, when I was in middle school, every person I knew, adult and child, had seen Titanic. And even if they hadn't seen it, they had a strong opinion about it. A movie these days can make $1 billion and have virtually no cultural impact at all. Just in parentheses, the movie Armageddon came out a year after Titanic. It also had a song on its soundtrack that was instantly iconic and inescapable. I mean, this was common back when we had a culture.
And so, in my conclusion, I believe that the actual peak of pop culture was not 2007, but 1997. We had the movies, TV, music, also games, cars, sports, fashion, and fitness. We then began to decline so gradually it was imperceivable. Cars became soulless econoboxes. Cable news drove division and claimed 24/7 coverage. We started burning music to discs we downloaded illegally, which begot the industry to create and hype cheaper music. We all got cell phones and hopped online with AOL Instant Messenger. Then, and this is critical, we needed to manifest online with social networks, which sparked the true culture shift with girls becoming tech savvy. We put the internet in our pockets with iPhones and found that it is indeed possible to exceed the human limits of news coverage and connectivity. As our smartphones evolved, the skill sets needed to make pop culture eroded. Everyone could sing if enough people could be convinced. Rather than discover a band, just keep the money in the family. Why hire a video editor when you can do it on your phone? Where cars found tangible improvements in power and technology, design wasn't one of them. Growing massive, more complex in the name of safety, ironically creating blind spots to pass crash tests. A necessity with girls being encouraged to be both independent behind the wheel and addicted to their iPhones. The cool cars a teen could aspire for in 1997 were obtainable with a college degree. But today, you need an NBA contract to get your hands on a Ferrari, so why bother? Photography became the most dispensable art of all, with us taking pictures of everything. Digital pictures of food would not happen in 1997 when a photo cost money. And since we can take photos of anything, anyone could become a model. Beached whales took over Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, testing the public's willingness to speak up. And with social media weaponized, few were willing to die on that hill.
I've covered wars, you know.
While the media we created referenced pop culture, many of us fell out with the mainstream. We were told by asshats at the Daily Wire and Louder with Crowder to have a parallel economy. Those who could have pushed back against the left were encouraged to keep quiet and let DEI run roughshod under the guidance of the country club. What was once comically fat is now average. Young people dress like they're from the slums of Cyberpunk 2077. Video games are doing everything they can to exploit their users. And where we used to have real sports with guys like Michael Jordan, now we have whatever the NBA's doing. And the now commonplace white male doofus in commercials has me identifying with the Chicano actors of the 80s who were forced to say SA and pull out switchblades. With NFL football being today's only cultural touchstone, it's no safe space from the message. And here we are today, entertainment's cutting corners while charging fans more to make up for the lack of mass appeal due to the fractured culture, leaving protests with a monopoly on sustainable free outdoor entertainment. Hollywood competes with Silicon Valley about as well as you throw down with an unbribed Floyd Mayweather. There may never be a great TV show ever again, and what movies you call good are just effective at manipulation. 90s gatekeeping allowed the public to have a job and then come home entertained. YouTube's endless content mill from indentured servants can't be beat by the occasional hit. And as gaming is concerned, we'll soon see GTA 6 create a depression in its wake, with addicts making fentanyl look like Tylenol. I'm talking quitting jobs, leaving families, telling the ex she can keep the dog. The shuttering of devs and publishers whose shareholders see no promise of besting Rockstar because in the stock market it's not good enough to make a profit, you have to make the most profit to survive. The consumer was always right in 1987, but today that only applies at Chick-fil-A, a brand untarnished by the siren call to go public and whose employees I trust with open heart surgery. What was once Hollywood's audience is now their competition. We have so many creators now vying to become the stars, we can't be bothered with Hollywood. While YouTube has an endless flow of free content, we can't overlook what will happen directly to us, the creators, when we compete against AI. Who doesn't have to write a script, shoot it, edit, while working hand in hand with the algorithm to get videos seen. Whereas Matt thinks we will go offline and find communities,
I would hope that people will rebel against this fragmented, algorithmic, digital pseudo-culture by building strong communities where there can be a shared culture, building actual communities in physical space with people that you're actually around in person.
I hope the public learns to appreciate authenticity. But what hope is there that'll happen when today the space's current leaders have millions of viewers with shows produced like they come from a TV network, with the host as a figurehead needed to read a script and endorse products?
That's blackriflecoffee.com, code Tucker, or pick it up at your local convenience or grocery store. You will love it.
Use the space below to agree with me. Unlike Matt Walsh, I read all the comments and usually reply.
Hey, this is Vaughn's mom, and well, he's doing channel memberships now, and they're really cheap, like his videos.